And our top story at this hour, and this is a mega News9 exclusive ahead of the February elections in Bangladesh. Former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has spoken exclusively to News9 in an audio message, an audio interview, directly challenging Chief Adviser to the Bangladesh government, the current Chief Adviser Muhammad Yunus, to face her in the polls. Hasina has dared Yunus to contest elections from any constituency, saying, let the people decide who actually has public support. She questioned why the elections are being conducted in a way that prevents the Awami League from participating, insisting that her party must be allowed to contest. She has also accused Yunus of designing a mock election with no real mandate, claiming that at least 50% of voters support the Awami League. Hasina has also alleged that Yunus is trying to legitimize illegal power by manipulating votes. In fact, launching a sharp attack, Hasina focused on Yunus, also accused her of exploiting the poor, laundering money abroad and misusing the Grameen Bank, and questioned what mandate Yunus has to ban the Awami League. She also said that the past student protests were not about quotas but a planned move to oust her government. And strong political battle lines are now clearly drawn ahead of the Bangladesh elections.
আমি ইউনুসকে আহ্বান করি, আসেন আমার সাথে নির্বাচন করেন, যে কোনো কনস্টিটুয়েন্সিতে আসেন, দেখি কে জিতে, কাকে জনগণ ভোট দেয়। আজকে নির্বাচন দিয়েছে, কেন আওয়ামী লীগ নির্বাচন করতে পারবে না? কেন আওয়ামী লীগে ভোট দিতে পারবে না? অবশ্যই আওয়ামী লীগকে নির্বাচন করতে দিতে হবে। আমরা নির্বাচন করতে চাই। হ্যাঁ, 2014 সালে বিএনপি ইলেকশন করে বয়কট করেছে, 2024 সালে তারা বয়কট করেছে, 2018 সালে একটা সিটে একের অধিক তারা নমিনেশন দিয়েছে। 300 সিটে যদি 700 নমিনেশন দেয়, তবে নিজেরাই যা মারামারি করে নিজেই উদ্যোগ করেছে। এখানে আওয়ামী লীগের দোষটা কি? কিন্তু 18 সালের নির্বাচন নিয়ে সেটাকে বিতর্কিত করে, এটা তো ইউনুসের মেটিকুলাস ডিজাইনের অংশ। সব তথ্য বেরোচ্ছে এখন। আজকে আমি বলবো যে আমাদের কৃষক, শ্রমিক, ছাত্র, জনতা, মেহনতি মানুষ, নারী সমাজ, সকলে যে যেখানে আছেন, সবাইকে ঐক্যবদ্ধ হতে হবে। আমি ইউনুসকে আহ্বান করি, আসেন আমার সাথে নির্বাচন করেন, যে কোনো কনস্টিটুয়েন্সিতে আসেন, দেখি কে জিতে, কাকে জনগণ ভোট দেয়। আজকে নির্বাচন দিয়েছে, কেন আওয়ামী লীগ নির্বাচন করতে পারবে না? কেন আওয়ামী লীগে ভোট দিতে পারবে না? অবশ্যই আওয়ামী লীগকে নির্বাচন করতে দিতে হবে। আমরা নির্বাচন করতে চাই। হ্যাঁ, 2014 সালে বিএনপি ইলেকশন করে বয়কট করেছে, 2024 সালে তারা বয়কট করেছে, 2018 সালে একটা সিটে একের অধিক তারা নমিনেশন দিয়েছে। 300 সিটে যদি 700 নমিনেশন দেয়, তবে নিজেরাই যা মারামারি করে নিজেই উদ্যোগ করেছে। এখানে আওয়ামী লীগের দোষটা কি? কিন্তু 18 সালের নির্বাচন নিয়ে সেটাকে বিতর্কিত করে, এটা তো ইউনুসের মেটিকুলাস ডিজাইনের অংশ। সব তথ্য বেরোচ্ছে এখন। আজকে আমি বলবো যে আমাদের কৃষক, শ্রমিক, ছাত্র, জনতা, মেহনতি মানুষ, নারী সমাজ, সকলে যে যেখানে আছেন, সবাইকে ঐক্যবদ্ধ হতে হবে। এটা কোনো নির্বাচন হচ্ছে না, এটা নির্বাচনের একটা খেলা। এখান থেকে কোনো জনগণের ম্যান্ডেট আসবে না। নির্বাচন নামে একটা প্রহসন হচ্ছে, যেখানে আওয়ামী লীগ অংশগ্রহণ করতে পারে না। সেটাকে আবার নির্বাচন কিসের? অন্তত 50% ভোটারের আমাদের পক্ষে। আজকে আমাদের নির্বাচন করতে দেবে না কেন? আমি ইউনুসকে আহ্বান করি, আসেন আমার সাথে নির্বাচন করেন, যে কোনো কনস্টিটুয়েন্সিতে আসেন, দেখি কে জিতে, কাকে জনগণ ভোট দেয়। তখন না বুঝতে পারবো। সেটা তো করতে পারবে না, সে সাহস নাই। কারণ রক্ত চোষা আর কেউ ভোট দেবে না, জানে তা ভালো করে। গরিবের রক্ত চুষে খেয়েছে তো, আর টাকা পাচার করে বিদেশের সম্পদের পাহাড় করেছে, বাংলাদেশে কোনোদিন 1 টাকাও বিনিয়োগ করেনি। তো তার আবার কে ভোট দেবে? সেই জন্যই তো ভোট চুরি করে ক্ষমতা আসতে চাচ্ছে, এখন ক্ষমতা ডাকাতি করে।
All right, that's an exclusive conversation that we've had with Sheikh Hasina this morning, where she talks about what has transpired in Bangladesh as far as the ouster of her party and herself is considered, and the fact that the student protests that led to her ouster were in fact orchestrated. Those are some of those reactions from Sheikh Hasina at this point in time, levelling serious allegations on Muhammad Yunus, are also saying that Muhammad Yunus government is directly blocking an attempt to let her participate in the upcoming Bangladesh elections. Joining me on the show is Suhas Chakma, Director, Rights and Risk Analysis Group. Also with me in the studio is my colleague Brijesh Pandey, Input Editor at News9. Brijesh, I want to come to you first. Looking at that conversation that we've had with, Sheikh Hasina, she's making some very serious allegations that, we've heard from her multiple times over the past year and do hold some value at this point because she's not being allowed to participate in what should have been a free election in Bangladesh.
Oh, absolutely. I think, she has taken Muhammad Yunus to cleaners, and if you listen to the entire conversation, which is available exclusively on News9, she has said that, under, what is the legitimacy of the Yunus government? They have basically merely usurped the power. And she said that, as she has been saying right from the word go, it was never about student quota, it was never about student uprising, and it was all Western orchestrated. And she went on to say that, that the fact of the matter is that how, the change, Muhammad Yunus was brought in to somebody who would change the political system has turned out to be as good or bad as Jamaat-e-Islami itself. And he is ingratiated to them. And this is the reason why this particular ban, which she said that has come from a ruler or from a person who has no locus standi as far as the Bangladesh is concerned. So, and she has also thrown a clear challenge to Muhammad Yunus, saying that if he wants to, she's willing to fight Muhammad Yunus from any constituency in the entire Bangladesh. So it's very clear that that she has thrown a spanner. She has made it very clear about how there is no legitimacy vis-a-vis Muhammad Yunus government. And she has also explained that how Muhammad Yunus is trying to give a spin by ban A. He has no locus standi to ban Awami League, and she has also said that that the 2014 and 18 election which he's talking about, Muhammad Yunus is talking about, in that BNP boycotted the election and not that they were banned by Awami League. So she's trying to make a differentiate here as well.
All right. So say very serious allegations, but one of these allegations, Suhas Chakma, I'm going to read out from, is she says that as soon as Yunus came to power, he released militants, terrorists, murderers from every jail. We see cases being filed against government officials, the police and the army and the members of the armed forces, essentially saying that, there is a concerted attempt by Muhammad Yunus to ensure that the country is radicalized by each passing day.
There is no dispute because these are matter of facts. If you look at the judgments which have come up, each and every person, those who are convicted, not by the Awami League government, actually those who are convicted and who were arrested by the BNP government. So if you look at those who are involved in the trafficking of arms, 10 trucks load of arms, they were arrested by the BNP, and the offenses took place when the BNP was in power. So Dr. Yunus actually has released all of them because it's a design. The design is basically to Islamize Bangladesh, and he is somebody who is trying to pull the Western people that they are looking for some kind of democracy. That is not going to work out. I mean, Bangladesh has been completely radicalized as far as I know at this point of time. So it's very difficult not to agree with whatever Hasina had mentioned.
All right, difficult to not agree there. But, let's also briefly talk about the elections, the upcoming elections, because that is a big bone of contention in Bangladesh. The world is watching. And the Western countries are very, very closely eyeing of what's going to be apparently a free and fair election. Now, if it were a free and fair election, then Awami League should have been allowed to participate. Let people decide who they want to vote for.
Absolutely. I think, the word free and fair comes across as a farce when you ban a party and then say that, now we are going to have a referendum or free and fair election in Bangladesh. And, what is shocking is that the hypocrisy of Western world is also shining through. Shweta, the fact of the matter is that when it comes to terrorism, it has been proven beyond doubt that the Western worlds have a dual standard as far as to tackle the issue. And the same is happening in the state in Bangladesh. When you have ambassadors of Britain, we have ambassadors of America come here and try to tell us that Yunus is a great guy. I mean, if you look at the way the situation has just taken the turn downward hill ever since he has assumed power. I mean, Yunus is anybody other than a great guy. But the fact of the matter is that he is getting support from the Western world, and that is also adding to the problem as far as India is concerned. The fact is that he's not a legitimate government. There is no way you can have a free and fair election by banning one of the most popular party, which is Awami League. Awami League has a lot of support there. Nobody is saying, especially nobody from India is saying that you have to elect Sheikh Hasina to make the election look like a free and fair election. But at least give her a fair fighting chance. You have to give her a fair fighting chance, the party a fair fighting chance, and this is exactly what Yunus is denying it. And the way she spoke about how Yunus used his Grameen Bank example to ingratiate himself, to make himself dear to the Western world, is now behaving just like as an extension of Jamaat-e-Islami and nothing more than that.
Absolutely. So Suhas Chakma, if it was bad when Sheikh Hasina was at the helm, it's worse now. It worse in terms of the track record of this government under Muhammad Yunus, when it comes to civil rights, when it comes to minority enjoying any sort of freedom at all. I mean, they're being killed in broad daylight. At least 21 such Hindus have died. They have been deliberately targeted by extremists. So, talking about Western hypocrisy there, I think it's not lost on us that that popular youth movement, the student movement that ousted Sheikh Hasina, had the Western backing. And the West today is silent when it comes to the atrocities that minorities are facing.
It's not only the minorities. I think the crux of the issue is there is no democracy in Bangladesh. When you ban the largest political party, which brought independence to the country, then that election process itself does not have any kind of legitimacy whatsoever. Secondly, if you look at the press freedom, I mean, the press freedom was not at its best when Hasina was there, but the press freedom has deteriorated to such an extent that it's almost unrecognizable. And in the last 1 year, 1.5 years, about 1,000 journalists were arrested or faced prosecutions or tortured. And, hundreds of the senior journalists have been facing investigations by the Financial Investigation Department of the government of Bangladesh. So, there is no press freedom. And in Hasina's time, you did not see the Daily Star and the Protomalo, the largest dailies of Bangladesh, being burned down. So there is no protection whatsoever for the journalists. And if the journalists do not have freedom, then obviously the democracy doesn't exist, because nobody is ready to report about it, and it affects everybody else's rights, including the religious minorities. I think what we hear about the religious minorities is basically cases which you can no longer hide. They are so gruesome, or somebody has been killed, that you have to make it to or publish in the news media. But there are so many incidents of violations which take place. The press is actually scared to report about it, because if you report about it, then you could be lynched. And look at the democracy or the independence of judiciary. About 21 judges, including the former Chief Justice of Bangladesh, they had to resign. Now in Bangladesh, for a judge to be removed, there is a procedure set that he or she has to be impeached. And that impeachment process never took place. You just had some boys protesting against you, then you had to resign. So you have no independence of judiciary, because the judges are scared to pronounce the judgment. There is no freedom of the press. The opposition party at this point of time is completely banned. I mean, then what it is, it's a sham democracy, and it's very surprising that the European Union has sent about 200 election observers to Bangladesh, but they have not sent similar kind of election observers to Myanmar. Because the Myanmar might as well say, the elections we are holding with others out whom we do not agree with, and that's free and fair. I think the international community is going to struggle quite a lot about this election. And the banning of the Awami League, it has been condemned by everybody. I mean, you can ban individuals. If there are certain individuals who are responsible for any kind of violations of the law, election law, that you cannot contest the election, that's perfect. But to turn a political party like the Awami League as a terrorist organization, I mean, it's unthinkable anywhere in any country governed by the rule of law.
Right.
And if the elections, if they have been banned, allow them to hold free and fair, hearing. And on this, the last point which I want to mention is that the Interparliamentary Union has been trying to send a delegation for trial observers of the members of parliament, and the IPU has not been able to send because Dr. Yunus has not been giving visas, and he gives visas when the hearing is over. So they basically know that the IPU comes, the truth will come out. So it's extremely unfortunate. And I think the last part which I want to say is that the role of the United Nations, after the High Commissioner for Human Rights, has been shameful. Not only with the number of deaths, because they have said 1,400 people were killed, whereas the officials have only stated that only 900 people killed. And of course, it's for the High Commissioner for Human Rights to find out where the rest 600 people had come from, or where they had found the names, because they had not given the list of these 1,400 people killed.
Right.
But they have a field office in Bangladesh, and they have been there for the last 7 months. They do not speak, or they do not issue a single statement, and they do not even issue a statement when the Pratamalo and the Daily Stars were banned. So if that is the role of the United Nations, then it's extremely unfortunate, and it's shameful. And then where would people have faith?
Right.
If an independent institution like the UN conducts in this manner, I mean, that's extremely unfortunate.
Duplicity of international organization when it comes to Bangladesh. If Bangladesh under Sheikh Hasina was bad, I think Bangladesh under Muhammad Yunus should put many Western nations, including some of these international organizations, to shame at this point. Thank you very much, Suhas Chakma, as well as my colleague Brijesh, for taking time out for joining us on that crucial story.